another episode of Relearning Work, where we dive into the future of learning and work. In each episode, we'll bring you conversations with leaders from industry and education to challenge assumptions, propose ideas, and share learnings as we all navigate this world that is being reshaped by Agentic AI. Now, whether you're an educator, a student, a business executive looking to stay ahead in this rapidly changing landscape, there's something in it for you. I'm your host, David Yip. And today, I'm joined by Matt Woodward. He's a talent leader, an entrepreneur, a community builder, and a startup founder. Now, Matt, you've recruited for tech, for consulting, for banking, for high growth startups. You helped them fuel their growth. And you had more than 20 years helping organizations build high performing teams. Attracting talent, recruiting, retaining them. And on top of this, you also founded the Melbourne Talent Meetup almost 10 years ago. It was the first in Australia back then, and now it's the largest talent community of its kind in the country, and it's got chapters all around Australia. Wow, so talk about having an expert in talent on this show. So welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me. No pressure at all after that tremendous intro.
No, fabulous. So it's rare to come across someone that's got so much history and expertise, and I was really keen that you accepted my invitation to come on the show and share some of your insights. And as you know, I was on at your talent meetup a few months ago talking about AI, and now I'm really keen to get your views, how you're seeing this whole new world that's been turned upside down by ChatGPT a couple of years ago. What's happening in the talent world?
Well, it's an interesting time that we're in terms of talent. There's been, in the last 18 months, 2 years, there's been sort of mass redundancy. The hiring hasn't been as much. We all know it's been a pretty challenging market, both from an overall economics perspective, but certainly within talent. We've gone from being the most in demand sort of skill sets during COVID to sort of mass layoffs over the last 18 months. I was a victim of that myself, which prompted me to start the business I have now, Scalar. Um, but again, as I said, it's an interesting time because we are starting to discover and uncover the potential of AI within the talent space. What that means in terms of the way that we work, traditional way of work, how we can integrate technologies into automating a lot of the traditionally manual processes. So what does that mean? Well, what tools do we use to start with? What's going to sort of complement the existing tech suite? But what does that mean in terms of the way that the TA team is either structured or how they work in terms of, where they now move direct focus in terms of so rather instead of the things they were doing in the past. So yeah, interesting times that we're sort of getting into. I think we're really only at the beginning of the journey, from a discovering and understanding and working out what it is we want from new technologies. But yeah, so next 12, 18, 24 months are going to be fascinating. I think where we are now versus where we're going to be in a couple of years' time is just going to be light years away.
Yeah, there certainly is a huge amount of change. But in the change that we're experiencing, I guess our frame of mind or how we look at the world is really important in how we accept things or how we adapt. And I guess underlying all of that are assumptions. And sometimes there are assumptions that we are aware of and assumptions that we aren't quite aware of. So can you think of an assumption that we have to be aware of so we can adapt to the demands of this whole, increasingly AI-driven economy?
Yeah, I think within the talent space, the one, and maybe this is kind of more true universally, but certainly within talent space, there's been the fear that technology will replace recruits, will replace people in the talent space, where that there is no evidence so far that that's going to be the case. I think you're always afraid of things you don't know. I think there's a little bit of fear and trepidation that while we're still uncovering exactly what new technologies mean and how it will if affect the way that we do work. But I think it's very clear from the excellent meetup presentation that you did, along with Julian Bright as well, that there is always going to be a need for people within within the recruitment and talent processes more broadly. All Agentic AI is going to do is make your lives more easier. It's going to replace some of the manual tasks that you would have been otherwise sort of bogged down with. Um, which means that you can now focus on doing more of the other value adding things, more of the outreach, more of the recruitment marketing, more of the onboarding, more of the brand building, the employer branding that's is critical for growing an organization externally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. There is generally the fear of the unknown, and we kind of gravitate back to what we are familiar with when there's times of disruption. I certainly find that assumptions is one of these things that we often don't think too much about, and but it's so important to sort of take a step back and have a look at it, why we're behaving the way we are, or feeling, or even looking at things the way we are, and it usually comes back to underlying assumptions. And AI is one of these things that certainly I found, hearing what a lot of people say about it, is that this will be just like the other ones. This would be just like the other tech waves or the products and releases, and you kind of assume that it might just blow over, or it will there'll be another fad coming down the track. But I get the sense this one's a little bit different. This one is a little bit different, and so that's probably an assumption that is probably not good to have, because if it is so different, actually, do you think it's different, this one, compared to maybe blockchain or Web3 or mixed reality, or those ones?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, blockchain and these sort of things. I think there's a place for it, but I don't think that it has as much wide-reaching effect as this will. Everybody is using these tools to some degree in their daily lives already, and I think if you don't, then you're going to very quickly get left behind.
Yeah, yeah. So if everyone's using it, then how do you stand out? What kind of skills do you need to really stand out, to really shine and thrive?
I think the one that really leaps to my mind is adaptability. In the where we are at the moment, the ability to adapt and pivot and to embrace new technologies and new ways of working is going to be probably the most critical skill to have over the next 3 to 5 years, maybe. I'm just thinking about the video that you showed at the meetup, and how far technology had come, even in the space of 12 months. Basically, the technology from the previous year was almost obsolete in that time. So, 3 to 5 years in tech, in the market we're in, is just, as I said earlier, it's kind of light years away. 6 months is kind of probably the sort of ceiling in terms of how far you look into the future. But adaptability, the ability to quickly learn new skills, quickly apply new skills, sort of quickly be able to evaluate what this new piece of technology means for your business and how you can apply it, and what wide-reaching effect that has on the overall business, on your go-to-market strategy, on the way the TA team or talent team more broadly functions. I think that is going to be the key thing: being able to have a model that is nimble enough that you can pivot and you can embrace these new things to make sure that you don't get left behind.
Yeah. Is there like I guess, a difference in the skills that you would need if you're a early career person looking for work, like a student, versus someone who is maybe a mature age or experienced in the workforce as well?
That's an interesting question, though, that you just automatically made me think about when I was at school and there was one computer for the whole school, in the sort of mid to late 80s. Whereas the generations come through, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, they all grew up with technologies. It's kind of part and parcel of their sort of identity and their personality. Whereas for people our age, people in the 40s and above, it's absolutely, you need to focus more on that. I think, you can very quickly get left behind. Maybe it just isn't something that's naturally in tune, something you naturally sort of embrace. But I think that's probably the skill sets are probably different from that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think adaptability probably means something quite different to, I guess, us, more experienced, mature people in the workforce versus people starting out. I think about even just the word adaptability. That sounds a bit nebulous. How would you teach someone that? How would you build that skill up even?
But I think it's just being aware of the fact that we are in a situation that is evolving and does require that. I think, having sort of 12-month uh, talent strategies is seems too far these days. I think just reflecting, reviewing more regularly is probably the thing. 3 months is probably a maximum in terms of, going back and going, okay, where are we? Does everything still align and still doing what we want it to do? Is the right technologies in place? Do we need to pivot? What are our competitors doing? I think it's more regular reviews and check-ins around how you are approaching, I guess, technology, but also your own ways of working.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically, it's more of a rhythm thing. It sounds like, right? You need to get into a faster rhythm, or a rhythm that is not as predictable. That's you're constantly, experimenting, trying new things, you know. And have you seen it done well? I guess these kind of skill building or capability building functions or capability, in large organizations or startups, learning and development. I think that's what it's called. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few organisations doing some interesting things. I mean, one of the things that I saw recently was IBM's New Collar Initiative, so it focused more on hiring based on skills and potentials rather than necessarily like degrees and that sort of thing. So, really focused on the skills within cybersecurity, AI development, evolving sectors. Shout out to a good friend of mine, Chris Long, who has his business Elevate. They are doing very much, he's doing a huge amount of work around skills-based hiring. There's people like Gareth Flynn from TQ Solutions who have, got a big focus around that within the organizations they work with. So there's clearly a groundswell of organizations starting to really embrace this sort of skills-based hiring kind of idea. And I think it's more critical than ever now, especially with um, competition remaining high for top talent. I think we're probably getting to a point early part of this year, sort of Q1 this year, and later on where the people are wanting to move. There's been a bit of the market's been pretty stagnant for the last 12, 18 months. There's probably a lot of movement going to be happening in the market. So how you can use this to identify ways of keeping top talent. If you've got a smaller company and you don't necessarily have the latitude for these people to progress, what are their skills? How can they match to other parts of the organization? How can you retain these people and continue to develop and motivate them? I think there's a huge amount of work to be done in this space. It's a huge opportunity for organizations.
Actually, just for the I guess the audience that may not be familiar with skills-based hiring or skills-based organization, can you elaborate a bit about that? So, versus what's before skills-based? Well, how was the hiring or development done?
I think it's more experience and more competency based hiring. So this is looking now more at that holistically at what are the skills and how they can map more broadly within organisations. I think that's a real critical skill. How do you retain your best people with when you have a small organisation where there isn't necessarily the chance to progress? It's basically mapping the skills across the wider organisation to say. Actually, these skills could plug into something else and actually give this person um, a different challenge that they would be successful within. So you're retaining people within the business. You're enhancing your business by the fact you're retaining them, but then you're also developing these people more broadly as well.
Yeah. So if it sounds like it's a lot more granular, right? It's a lot more specific and task orientated versus before. competency based, maybe more role orientated, more longer duration? Would that be right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, more about sort of the experience you've got in previous roles, having done like a rote sort of experience, having done the role before. So it's a different way of thinking and approaching hiring. Yeah. So you may end up having greater diversity within your organization, greater diversity of thought, experience, and background that you might not otherwise have had before. You're kind of unlocking different ways of doing traditional things by by hiring somebody who's been in that role and done that role for a long time. You're probably going to get similar outcomes. Whereas you hire someone skills based, then you may end up having sort of different perspectives and different ways of approaching a traditional challenge. So, thereby enhancing your organization overall.
So if it's skills based, then just maybe extrapolating. I don't know whether this will turn out this way or not, but the duration of those skills, the longevity of those skills, could potentially be shorter as well. So the person might be, coming into the role, doing some doing some tasks based on the skills, and they'll have to rapidly upgrade and upskill along the way as well. So even just looking at, over the last 2 years with all the AI tools, Claude and OpenAI, that every few months they release new functions, new features. Claude just released computer use, and you got to pick up those skills now. How do you use agents to go and do things for you? Um, it seems to be the learning capability of an organization has to be something quite special. You got to invest in it. It can't just be done, as a matter of course. You got to really intentionally invest and look at that.
We're still at the beginning of this journey. I think the next 12 months there'll be a lot more focus around skills based hiring, as we continue to evolve. Most organisations, or a lot of organisations, don't have policies around AI, and still trying to work out the right tools for their business. So I think this will continue to be a journey. But then, once that's happened, new tools and new new developments and new evolutions will emerge as well. So I think it's going to be this ongoing sort of cycle of progression.
And you have a vantage point of seeing a lot of these organizations, big and small. Do you see any, I guess, emerging leaders, people who are doing it better than others, or picking up these new skills capabilities for skills-based hiring better than others? And if so, what are they doing a little bit differently than others?
Uh, Again, there are some organisations doing things well, but there's no one who sort of leaps to mind at the moment as being sort of the standout in the crowd. I think everybody is going on their own journey of discovery and sort of trying new tools. So I think it's just going to be an ongoing exercise.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. And I guess I would like to wrap up our formal questions with one that is more education based. Who's a teacher? Now, it could be a mentor, a coach, or a manager. So who's a teacher that's made the most impact to your life, and why?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. There's probably a couple of people who without realizing it, have been huge sort of sources of support, more as mentors. And again, I've mentioned them already, but Chris Long, and I think you have mentors and you have coaches from and all coming different perspectives of your life. This is somebody who has come from similar background to me in the UK and been really focused on a certain thing and done incredibly well. Somebody who travels the world talking about new technologies and new ideas and new ways of doing things, and somebody who's kind of inspiring from that point of view. And I think there was an old colleague who Alicia Santini at Slalom, who was just a source of support and advice and energy, and somebody who was just incredibly was just somebody who you wanted to follow in business, just someone who just brought energy and just brought enthusiasm and just brought real know-how. Um, Not somebody who necessarily mentored me, but someone who was a real source of support and just brought that that desire and that innate energy to grow something, and just sort of saw the the end goal 2 years down the line, and helped helped a growing team and a new team sort of really help embed those ideas, and sort of realize the vision. Incredibly inspiring person, yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it. I think having this kind of peer or work related or just mentoring and coaches moving forward, that is just going to be so important. So especially when things are new and we need to be learning things on the fly. The teacher student dynamic is changing quite rapidly. The teacher student can be one day, I'm a teacher, you're a student. The other way, you're a teacher, I'm a student, and we're all sort of learning together.
Yeah, look, and I think that's exactly it. As we have new generations entering the workforce, I think that's it's going to be incredibly important to be able to harness the skills and the innate skills and knowledges that these young generations bring to work. I think the the your Monday to Friday 9 to 5 kind of vibe has changed, almost probably a rocket. um, so I think the the way that we work and the hybrid working is here to stay. So I think COVID has taught us a lot, and COVID has changed the way that we work. And as new generations enter the workforce, I think we need to understand and embrace the way they work, and their expectations and their demands from work has changed as well. So as as an industry, as a business, has to adapt to that as well.
Yeah. All right, and so one last segment, and this is the plugs. And so tell me, Matt, what or who do you want to plug for this show?
Well, that's very kind of you to ask. I think I continue to plug this show. I think it's excellent. I think you're doing a tremendous job. I think you while we continue to evolve, you're one of the people who are really being at the forefront of new technologies, and really speaking with authority and presence. So I think follow David Yip is probably my first plug.
Thank you.
Um, Outside of outside of that, I do have my own little podcast, which is called the Scalar Sagecast. That's where I interview business leaders and founders around their journey, their story, how they've come to be successful in their own right, learning a bit more about the industries that they work within, and some of the best lessons and some of the biggest pieces of advice they've gained through their journey as well. So that's interesting. A good listen on your all your streaming services. My outside of it, my day job is with my business called Scale. So we're recruiting and talent advisory business. So mostly helping scale ups and SME businesses to hire the right people at the right stage of their journey, but then also look at that strategy and look at that plan and help them realize that vision if they don't have a TA function, or the things just aren't working, they're just not getting the quite the accuracy that they need. So help businesses with that. And as you mentioned at the top, Melbourne Talent Meetup. So yes, we've been running from January just gone. We were 9 years. So been running the longest in Australia. We're the first one to start here, and proud that we have a meetup in one. At least one meetup in every major city around Australia. We need to get work on Darwin, but pretty much everywhere else we have meetups. So if you're within the talent space and you're looking to build community and you're interested in learning some of the new topics and sort of the most sort of hot challenges and changes within our industry, then feel free to find us the Melbourne Talent Meetup.
Yeah, and now the talent meetup, it was renamed earlier, right? So it's not just it was recruitment focused, but now it's just overall talent. So anything to do with people and learning and development and HR and everything, right?
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, so we initially were for recruitment, but as the markets change, as new technologies, AI, bringing it back to what we were talking about at the beginning, as AI has changed, so too is the recruitment industry, and the way that the expectation is within the teams there. So, it isn't just a case of putting bums on seats. That's only a small part of talent acquisition. Recruiting is really just a small part of talent acquisition. As we mentioned, it's all the stuff from the beginning. The outreach, the onboarding, the employer branding, the retention to a part as well. So a talent acquisitions role has really merged with marketing, has really merged with the broader people team as well. So that's why we wanted to really open up the meetup now to include everybody. So we've done topics, a range of different topics around all people related things. We've got an event coming up fairly soon, actually, the 6th of February, I think, Thursday the 6th, Thursday the 5th, about how to build high performing teams. And it's a tremendous panel. It's going to be at Talent International's amazing building on Collins Street. So everybody is welcome to come along to that. Tickets on Humanitics.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And so I'll return the favor on my side. I do genuinely want to plug, your community. I wouldn't have learned so much about the rapidly changing world of talent and how the whole people organizations inside companies are quite frankly being disrupted by this whole Gen AI technology. And whether it's recruitment, retention, increasingly, I think it's about learning and development, and that whole function in the organization is, I think, would undergo quite dramatic changes over the coming years as companies large and small look at people in through a different lens. So definitely the talent meetup, every major capital city. And Matt, whatever you do in terms of your scalar business and your talent, functions that you lead, definitely a plug for yourself as well. Just an all-round fantastic human.
That's very kind. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few years. I think we're really privileged to be alive and to be working in a time that is seeing such change. I think I heard people sort of compare it to the industrial revolution of a couple of hundred years ago and stuff. But this digital revolution is going to be fascinating to see where we end up. And yeah, I'm here for it.
All right. So don't forget to subscribe. Go to your favorite podcast, give us 5 stars or whatever good looks like. And if you want to reach out and you have any questions to ask, please send an email through to david.yip@alumni.co. We'd love to hear from you. And that's it for another episode of Relearning Work. See you next time.